So welcome. Here we are going to begin a series of based on the pigeon pose. So just to warm up, I'm going to move through sun salutation, raising the arms with your inhale, exhaling, folding into Uttanasana, keeping it easy. If you're not warm yet, just folding into the position, walking yourself back into down dog, bending and stretching alternately through the legs, feeling the hands, lengthening the arms, lengthening the back, widening the back. Setting the knees then to the floor. Hands feeling the floor, keeping the joints open. So not locking any of the joints, the toes high, and moving through a few rounds of the cat-cow. And here you're starting to watch your breath. So we've gone straight into the asana here. Of course, if you've warmed up before or just taken a moment to come into the body and coming to the breath is ideal, but we can also just arrive there as we're moving through things like cat-cow and now in down dog. Arriving in stillness in the form and coming closer to the breath, just sensing where she moves, where she touches. And staying close to this easy, fluid movement of the breath as you bring the belly along the floor, breast, and widening the feet, widening the hands, and allowing the chest to raise into a very wide, long cobra, supported. Keeping the belly gently long here. Resting into the pose, allowing the heart to gently build a communication with the horizon. And then moving back into down dog, also a place where we can arrive close to the breath and also to open the inner eye a little bit more, the feeling sense, the inner eye that sees, touches, and hears at the same time. And lifting the right leg up to the sky, stretching through. Inhaling here, exhaling to bring the knee into the nose. Couple of rounds there. And we're just opening up, building up to the series. It's a challenging series and we're moving fairly fast into it, so probably a good idea to take time here. Doesn't need more movement to warm up, just more thought, like more intended thought to loosen the body. As you're on the left side now, stretching through the leg from down dog. Exhaling to bring it into the nose, and here, like you loosen the neck. You find where exactly needs to work and where it doesn't. So spending a bit more time in a position, perhaps doing less positions, but spending a bit more time there to loosen it, find that softness. We're going to, from down dog, just twist the hips to the right side, let the left knee bend in, and shift the left foot and set the right foot flat on the floor, parallel to the back of the mat. So twisting here, easy twist. Going on to the other side, opening onto the left, and you can also then stretch the left arm a little bit forward on the fingertips, bringing a nice opening onto the left side of the body. Coming out of that, resting back into child's pose, just a place to give weight, relax, feel the weight of the pelvis, the chest, the skull, the eyes closed, and allowing the breath just to be. So also, like I just said, with the body warming up doesn't mean, if we have a shorter time to warm up, doesn't mean that you have to do a lot more in that short time. We're trying to compress a longer warm up into a shorter time. That's not the idea, but trying to find the essential things of a warm up, which is maybe setting just the intention to be light, and the same with the breath, to come closer to experiencing our breath, paying attention, building an interest, and inviting her to be light, remain light. Coming up from the child's pose, just opening the wrists, turning one hand at a time back towards your center, not giving too much weight into the stretch. It's easier if you're on the toes here, just to control a little bit how much is falling into the stretch. You can increase the stretch just by pressing the tips of the fingers into the floor rather than giving more weight into the stretch. I'm going to Move out of that, roll onto your back. Take a moment just to feel the floor, bringing the knees softly into the chest, so dropping them into the chest. Widening the knees, setting the hands behind the knees, so just dropping. Understanding what gravity is doing to your body, or feeling that, allowing that. Hear gravity working on the knees, on the feet, on the shoulders, elbows. Instead of lifting from the floor, we give. So in other asanas, especially standing asanas, also seated asanas, we have a lifting sense. In these lying poses, releasing. Have a lengthening along the floor. So on the back now, stretch the left leg along the floor and just come into the half happy baby, opening up into the hip. Easy opening. So we're moving into a pigeon series. Actually not going to go into the normal version of the pigeon, but lots of other variations of the pigeon pose, and taking inspiration from that pose. So it's a good idea just to settle into your gentle opening of the hip. So we've changed sides. Half happy baby on the left side, so the right leg is long, and we try to keep the hips gently holding the earth. So we give on the left side, the half happy baby side, and we pay attention to how we hold stability on the right hip side. Bringing the knees into the chest and pulling the chest and the head in, tucking into a small and tight ball. Rolling up from there into a squat. You can choose your variation either on the toes, or if you feel comfortable, set the feet flat, wide. Drop the pelvis, so we give weight. The center of gravity is somewhere between your feet, so as we give weight of the pelvis, we also give weight of the head, rounding the back, softening the breathing. Noticing how the pelvic floor reacts with breathing. It's softened on the inhale, expanding also into the buttocks and the anus. Exhaling, gentle, gentle upward lifting motion as we exhale from the pelvic floor. I'm going to move up into standing position. Inhale as you turn the head and the arms. Exhaling. Just reminding yourself of your center. So coming to Tadasana, mountain pose, symbol of the mountain. The quality of the mountain, that steadiness, that wakefulness. Okay, now we're going to start the series. We've set the right foot in a flexion. So the flexion is strong. We hold that position of the foot and set it just above the left knee, opening the hip to its comfortable position. So we're going into the seated pigeon. It's possible. So the seated pigeon is our first pose. For some of you, like to come into the twist here, where we set the right elbow outside of the right foot, turning the upper body. And taking the hands forward, just bend into the knee completely. It's probably a good idea to have either something tall enough to set both hands on, or be close to the wall. So you can have, for example, here the right hand on the wall, and you're coming on the tiptoes left and you're sitting on the heels. Like I said, this is just a series. Inspired by the pigeon pose, all things that are possible to move from balance to balance. Taking the hands away from the wall, maybe in Anjali Mudra. So first it's important just to notice where we're going with the body. So we're just going to speak on the physical positioning level. It's important to understand where we're going. Gently lower yourself down on the floor. So we're trying to keep the position of the pigeon. We're sitting back and keeping, first so that the position was wide, and then some of you can even walk the seat towards the heel as we come into that stretch here, keeping the back long. A few breaths there before we just turn the pelvis and set the feet, right foot flat on the floor. We find ourselves in Ardha Matsyendrasana, seated twist, turning towards the right thigh and lengthening the spine, so the attention is more on what's happening in the central channel for a twist. Moving out of that, we're just going to let loose the pigeon form, which was still kind of there, tucked away. And we have the right knee bent, foot is closer to the pelvis, it will stabilize the position a bit easier. Some of you might like to be on something here, sitting a little bit higher. We take the foot left with both hands and keep the foot just in front of us. You can gently extend the heel, lengthening that leg. So for most people, that's probably about where is best to stay. Some of you might like to go deeper into the stretch. So really, we're going deeper in the stretch. Let's just be clear there. We're holding then the left foot with the right hand and we're twisting through. So looking at that pose, you can also just pause this video. The video is short and you can just pause, look at a position, see if you can make sense of it. Now I've come back to the pigeon pose, folded forward, taking the right knee outside of the right upper arm and the right foot is just curling around the left upper arm. As you tip the weight forward a little bit, so forward to the horizon, not down to the floor, forward to the horizon, moving into sensation of Bakasana, you can just lift the toes left from the floor. I extended the leg. It's definitely an intermediate pose, so I recommend, unless you're very certain, just in the first balance pose, that you spend your time there before trying to extend the leg. Okay, we fold it out, taking a while in the Anjaneyasana stretch, and curling up into Tadasana mountain pose. So again, just to be clear, this video is short, moving quickly through the positions. We had a warm up. It's used as inspiration just for you to try out. Pause the video. It's also nice just to experiment with the asanas sometimes. And here, moving on the left side from the standing pigeon, we can call it, into the twist. These I find nice because, yeah, it's a nice hip opening, but when you use the same position, you hold something about a position, just change the form around that. It requires you to find a center, something that remains constant, something that you can find, yeah, let's call it balance. Equilibrium is a nice word. I think it's a much more fluid or fluctuating word. Anyway, back to the series. So from the standing pigeon, just moving forward, taking the weight into the hand so you can fall back onto the heel. Sitting on the heel. Here we're giving quite a lot of weight through the toes to push, and here we're lifting. Toe to heel, pelvic floor, and something lifting up into the lower belly. It's really in this short stretch where a lot of strength and a lot of lifting is happening. Pushing, rooting through the toes to lift up to the navel. Softening the breath is key. Softening the heart, softening the shoulders, the face. Keeping the strength just where it's needed in the body and softening into that experience of it. It's kind of a yoga asana practice, but also that's just any kind of practice in body work. So sit back, sat back, taking the stretch in the seated position, and then from there, dropping the hips and turning into Ardha Matsyendrasana. Repeating just one more time, going quite fast through these positions. The actual series, based on the pigeon form, you will see it's short, so you can also repeat it, just use it as inspiration. The twist there, Ardha Matsyendrasana. Yes, now we're putting into the stretch. Holding the left foot close to the pelvic floor to stabilize, lengthening the back. So here from the side, you can see that give priority first to rooting through the pelvis, lifting up through the crown. And what happens in between is exactly where we need to pay a lot of attention. Rooting and then through the crown, but then let's come to the center, what happens between there. And it's the breath that helps us to understand that, lengthening through that leg. And it's nice just to stay there. Of course, you can open into the side stretch, gentle twist into the back if you enjoy. Let's be clear, that's just a deeper stretch. The other version. And then we've formed the pigeon pose again, and now once again, settling into the hand balance. It's definitely an intermediate form. Okay, that's just a reminder. Don't attempt things that are just that little bit too stressful. Okay, and in that hand balance, we push with the shin. We wrap that foot of the pigeon leg, we can say, around the surrounding upper arm. So we're holding it. So if the foot is then becoming a hand, you hold that upper arm. And as you give the weight into the upper arms, you resist that from the arms themselves. So something is happening in that contact. Wherever contact happens, there's something happening. That's where we can pay attention to where the forces are going. Contact. So I didn't stretch through that leg because there can also be just different reasons why something is available or not. And I have a strange form on the knee which doesn't allow me to balance so easily. So I need to do some BMOT work on my left knee. I need to do some more work on there. So come onto the back, and these are also stretches inspired, easy stretches to inspired from the pigeon pose. Lying on the back, we set the right foot up in its position above the left knee and just turn the hips. So the right foot comes flat on the floor and the hip gently opens here. The knee goes up to the sky. For some people it will be about halfway or something like that. And you might choose to just go for the full relaxed form. Or if it's not relaxing, to hold the knee higher, just let it fall into the position. Or just take your own variation of a twist here. Here from on the other side with the left foot in the pigeon form and rolling the hips onto the right side. You can see a bit more clearly what is happening with the feet and knees. So I think in this series it's a good idea just to watch, maybe repeat this video. Settling into the moment of a stretch, the ease back, making contact with the floor, softening the front body and sending the attention back. Contact, that's where the things are happening. Softening the face, softening the breathing. And coming back to center, just widening the feet, dropping the knees together, settling the hands on the belly. Allowing the breath to communicate with the hands. Closing the eyes maybe now. So breath can move deep and long without needing to take in too much air or a lot of air. Deep breathing does not mean lots of air all the time. It means it's going deep, or maybe that could be one interpretation. And then just to end that series, that short series, so take the inversion, and I recommend now the easy, very relaxing legs up against the wall. Vipariti Karini, closing the eyes here, keeping the legs tall as well. Also perhaps not choosing to going for the hip opening here, really just going full way into the relaxation pose. The legs have been working a lot. There's a lot of tension to hold that pigeon pose, especially in the tiptoe variation. So let's give the legs a rest. So just stay there as long as you would like, or take a moment in Shavasana, resting yourself on the floor. And I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you've maybe been inspired to try some things out. I think these challenging series, if the body is ready, if we build up to it, are really nice. We challenge the body, we set ourselves that task with then the intention to find the lightness within. So we challenge the body to find that lightness within, that thing that remains a little bit free of the task.